All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're totally decoding how the fundamental building blocks of our economy are bought, sold, and priced. Ever wonder how a business knows exactly what to pay you, or how you intuitively decide how much to work? Well, we are going to unlock the mystery of factor markets to find out.
Here's our quick roadmap. We'll look at the 4 production factors, decode factor demand, dive into a real-world car wash case study, unpack the labor supply dilemma, and finally, find market equilibrium. Let's get right into it.
Part 1. The 4 production factors, the building blocks of the economy.
So what actually goes into making literally anything in our economy? It all boils down to 4 inputs, or factors of production, and as you can see, each one earns a very specific type of payout. You've got land, which includes all natural resources, and that earns rent. Then there's labor, the people actually putting in the work, earning wages. Next up is capital. Now this isn't just cash, it's physical assets and machinery, and that earns interest. And rounding it out, we have organization, or entrepreneurship. This is the brain power that brings the other 3 together to score a profit. Essentially, a firm is just the organization transforming these inputs into outputs.
Now, this creates a pretty brilliant circular flow. You know, it's a super common misconception that businesses just own everything. But in reality, households, you and me, we actually own and supply these factors to firms. We supply our labor, our land, our capital, and in return, those firms pay us wages, rent, and interest. Then, we turn right around and spend that exact same money on consumer goods, buying the very things those firms just made. It's this continuous, perfectly linked loop.
Moving on to Section 2, decoding factor demand. Why do firms hire?
Let's put on our business owner hats for a second. Why on earth would a firm decide to hire one more worker or buy one more machine? Here's the crucial difference. When you or I buy a coffee, we do it for personal utility. We just want the coffee. But firms, they don't demand factors of production just for kicks. They demand them for one reason, to maximize their revenue. It's a purely mathematical decision driven entirely by what that factor is going to yield on the back end. But there's a catch. Businesses face this major hurdle called the law of diminishing marginal returns. Because resources are scarce, each extra worker you hire eventually contributes less and less to your total output. Which brings us to a key concept. Marginal physical product, or MPP. Simply put, this is the additional output you get when you add exactly one extra unit of a factor, like hiring one single worker, assuming everything else stays exactly the same.
All right, Section 3, the car wash case study, the math in action.
To make this super concrete, let's look at how this plays out at a local car wash. Check out these numbers. When the owner brings on their very first worker, total production jumps from 0 to 5 car washes per hour. So that worker's marginal product is 5. But watch what happens as the team grows from 1 up to 5 workers. The extra car washes per hour, that marginal product, plummets from 5 all the way down to just 1. That 5th worker, they're only adding 1 extra wash to the total hourly output. That right there is the law of diminishing marginal returns happening in real time.
Now, to figure out what those extra washes are actually worth in cold hard cash, we have to calculate the value of marginal product. It's pretty simple. You just multiply that marginal physical product by the price of a single unit of output. So for our car wash, let's just say the going rate for a single wash is 3 rupees.
Look at how the value of the marginal product drops as the team expands. By multiplying our marginal product column by that 3 rupee price, we see the actual revenue value of each hire. Worker number 1, they generate an awesome 15 rupees of value. Worker 2 brings in 12. But by the time we hit worker number 5, because they're only adding that one single extra wash, their value of marginal product is a mere 3 rupees.
If you plot this out, you get a downward sloping demand curve. The firm's demand for labor isn't arbitrary at all. It maps exactly to that declining value of marginal product we just looked at. So imagine the market wage for a car wash worker is $10.50 an hour. How many workers does the firm actually hire? Exactly 2. The first worker brings in $15, the second brings in $12. Both of those are higher than the $10.50 wage, meaning the firm makes a solid profit. But worker 3, they only generate $9. Paying them $10.50 means taking a direct loss, so the boss stops hiring at 2.
Which leads us to Section 4, the labor supply dilemma, the human element.
So if firms are demanding labor based on this strict, unforgiving math, what actually convinces a human being to show up and supply their time? Well, supplying labor isn't a simple formula. It's a deeply human dilemma. Every single day, we're making a trade-off. On one hand, you need to fund your consumption, basically your survival, which means sacrificing your time to earn income. On the other hand, you have leisure, your unpaid time for rest, hobbies, and just living life. Deciding to work means constantly weighing the cost of giving up your precious leisure against the benefit of earning cash.
Which brings us to a really fascinating, kind of counterintuitive question. Think about this. If your boss doubled your hourly wage tomorrow, would you work twice as many hours, or would you actually choose to work fewer hours?
Economists have a name for this, the backward-bending supply curve. Usually a higher price means more supply, right? But in the labor market, after a certain point, a massive pay bump actually leads to a decline in the amount of labor you supply. Why? Because eventually that high wage lets you afford all your needs in way less time. So you actually make the human choice to substitute income for free time. You choose to work less so you can enjoy more well-funded leisure. The curve literally bends backward.
Finally, Section 5, Finding Market Equilibrium, Setting the Final Wage.
Okay, let's put it all together. We have businesses with their downward-sloping demand curves based entirely on marginal product math, and we have households with their complex, backward-bending supply curves based on human lifestyle choices. How does the real-world wage actually get settled? It all resolves at the labor market equilibrium. This is the exact intersection where the math of the firm perfectly aligns with the human choices of the workers. It's that sweet spot where the amount of labor businesses want to hire exactly matches the hours people actually want to work.
In our car wash economy, this perfect harmony is struck at an equilibrium wage rate of exactly 1050 rupees an hour. At this specific price point across the whole market, let's say the total quantity of labor settles at 300 workers. Businesses are perfectly happy to pay this based on their diminishing returns, and those 300 workers are happy to accept it to balance their consumption and their leisure time.
And here's the beautiful part. If the wage strays from this point, the market naturally self-corrects. If wages temporarily spike above 1050, an oversupply of workers will flood the market hoping to cash in. But firms won't hire them because their marginal product doesn't justify that higher cost. That surplus naturally drives payback down. On the flip side, if the wage falls below 1050, workers are going to prefer leisure over work. That creates a shortage, forcing firms to raise wages just to get the floors washed.
So the factor market is definitely not just some abstract textbook theory. It's the invisible force constantly evaluating your skills and your time. Every single time you punch a clock, your firm is weighing your marginal physical product, and you are weighing your own leisure. Armed with this insight, I'll leave you with this. Knowing exactly how the value of your work is calculated, where do you draw the line between earning your wage and buying back your time? Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning the value of everything around you, especially your own time.